At 8:14 a.m., my phone lit up on the kitchen counter, vibrating against the marble like it had something urgent to confess. One message from my mother, Caroline, punctuation perfect, tone mechanical. We changed all the locks on the front door and also the gate code. We no longer trust you. For a second, I just stared at it. Coffee still dripping, steam ghosting the air. Then I typed back, calm as ever, noted. That was clever, but I believe you forgot one thing. I hit send and watched the little bubble disappear. Outside, the city kept moving, unaware that one family had just declared war in a single text. When people say family first, I used to nod automatically, like loyalty was muscle memory. For 4 years, I paid their mortgage, property taxes, utilities, roof repairs, and even the new water heater after last winter's storm. Every bill came to me. Every thanks went to someone else. Caroline used to say, "You're such a blessing, Eleanor," in that rehearsed tone that sounded like a receipt being folded, not gratitude being spoken. From the outside, my family looked picture perfect. The Hayes residence with its white porch railings, a home sweet home sign swinging by the door, and a mother who hosted Bible brunches about love and unity. Inside, everything was transactional. If Victoria, my older sister, needed daycare money, it was, "Ellie, you're the responsible one." If Dad's, Richard's, credit card maxed out, it was, "You know how hard he works." But when I asked for anything, a weekend to myself, a boundary, they called me ungrateful. Victoria had 2 kids and a full-time gift for turning inconvenience into emergency. Her car breaks. Dangerous for the kids. Her card got hacked, just until payday. The problem was payday never came. Every time I bailed her out, Caroline framed it as, "Love, family helps family." The unspoken line was always, "And you'll pay for it." Richard was the kind of man who believed silence fixed everything. He avoided conflict like it was contagious, cracking jokes whenever tension filled a room. "Hey, Ellie," he'd laugh. "At least you're not broke, right?" Once he borrowed my name to apply for a small loan, just a paperwork mix-up, he said. I let it go like I always did, because in our family, the peacekeeper didn't win arguments, she absorbed them. The house itself had become a shrine to that dynamic. I'd visit and see the curtains I'd paid for, the roof I'd replaced, and my mother beaming like she'd built it brick by brick. She'd pour me tea and remind me how blessed we were that Victoria found such a beautiful home. I never corrected her. I just smiled, my throat tight, pretending I didn't notice she used the word "we" as if I wasn't sitting right there. Some nights I'd lie awake in my apartment, staring at the ceiling fan, replaying every favor I'd said yes to. It started as kindness and turned into a system, one where love was measured in payments made on time. Somewhere along the way, I stopped being the daughter and became the donor. So when that message came, "We no longer trust you," it didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like confirmation. They just put in writing what had been true for years. The locks were changed, but the door had been closing long before that. It started with a Facebook post I wasn't supposed to see. I was waiting curbside for a grocery pickup when the algorithm handed me a little betrayal wrapped in family pride. There they were, Caroline, Richard, and Victoria, standing on the porch of my house, the one I'd been paying for 4 years. Caroline's caption read, "So proud of our daughter, Victoria, for building a home we can all share. It's finally in the right hands." I read it 3 times, hoping my name might appear somewhere, maybe in the comments. It didn't, just a stream of hearts. And she's such a good daughter from relatives who never once called to ask how I was. My throat burned, and the grocery clerk's voice barely reached me. "Ma'am, your order's ready." I couldn't even move. Later, I called the bank, part logic, part denial. The woman on the line chirped, "Yes, Miss Hayes." You're still the primary on the mortgage, but there was a request last week to change that to a Miss Victoria Hayes. Verification pending. My stomach dropped. Someone had tried to rewrite ownership like it was a name tag. By the time I checked my account, the theft was quiet, but obvious. 2,400 euros transferred out to a familiar card, Victoria's emergency visa. I texted her, "Did you use my card again?" 10 minutes later, she replied, "Don't make it a thing, Ellie. The kids needed shoes." We're still sharing that one, right? We weren't. Then Caroline chimed in, "Honey, Victoria's going through so much. She said she'll pay you back. Let's not start a war over a few dollars." A few dollars. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking, but not from rage, from recognition. It had never been about money. It was about value. Their emergencies always outweighed my boundaries. That night, a notification blinked, family circle group chat. I hadn't looked in months, but curiosity is a cruel thing. Inside, someone had posted a meme, a man handing over his wallet. The caption read, "Big sponsor energy." A cousin tagged me. Another replied, "Can we get you to fund my loans next?" Even Richard joined in, "Only if you name your next cat after the bank." No one said it was cruel. No one defended me. I left the chat. They added me back with balloons. I left again and blocked everyone. It should have felt childish. Instead, it felt like air. A week later, I stopped by the house to mow the backyard, old habit. Halfway through, I heard laughter from the kitchen window. Victoria's voice, bright and easy. "Did you see her face when Aunt Karen asked about the deed?" She looked like a guest. Caroline laughed too, that low, satisfied tone. Once the paperwork clears, there's nothing she can say. She insisted on putting the mortgage in her name. Her problem now. Then Victoria, sharper. She's always been distant, a guest with a wallet. And Caroline finished it. She's not family anymore. She's just a sponsor. The hose slipped from my hand. Water spilled over my shoes, but I didn't move. I didn't cry either. Something inside me turned still, like water freezing mid-pour. I didn't go inside that day. I turned off the mower, left it right there in the yard, and drove home with the windows down, letting the wind dry whatever was left of the sting. By the time I reached my apartment, I knew exactly what I had to do. The house wasn't mine anymore. Not really. But the payments, the proof, were. I sat at my kitchen table, the same place I'd read Caroline's message a week earlier. The coffee stain from that morning was still faintly visible on the counter, like a watermark on a document. I opened my laptop, logged into my bank, and hovered over the auto transfer that read 4,800 euros recurring monthly payment. The cursor blinked. My hand didn't tremble. Cancel. The confirmation screen flashed once and that was it. For years of silence undone in a single click. I leaned back in my chair, a strange calm settling over me. The kind that doesn't come after victory, it comes after clarity. I opened a new spreadsheet and started typing mortgage, property tax, roof repairs, utilities, insurance, daycare, groceries. Each entry got a date and amount, a short note. Line after line, for years of transactions came alive again, like ghosts I was finally calling by name. When I finished, the total glared up at me, 72,384 euros. My breath caught, not from regret, but from validation. I printed every page and slid them into a binder. Then, for the first time in years, I labeled something for myself, evidence. That night, a soft thud at my door pulled me from the numbers. A white envelope with gold edges, no return address. Inside, a glossy invitation, please join us to celebrate Caroline Hayes' 60th birthday. The quote at the bottom read, "A house is not a home without family." I almost laughed. The irony was so loud it was quiet. I pinned the invitation to my fridge, right beside the binder of payments, a reminder that every story needs an ending. For the next few nights, I barely slept. I wasn't angry anymore. I was meticulous. Each evening after work, I gathered receipts, screenshots, audio files. I even found a voice memo from that afternoon in the backyard. My phone had been recording from my pocket. The line played back, crisp and cruel, "She's not family anymore. She's just a sponsor." Hearing it again didn't hurt. It focused me. That sentence had been the final transaction. They defined me as a sponsor. Fine. Sponsors can cancel. Sponsors can audit. I texted Grandpa Arthur that night, "I'm going to Caroline's party. I think it's time things are said out loud." No reply came, but I knew he read it. He always did. He was the only one who never asked for money, never treated kindness like a down payment. The day before the party, I rehearsed. Not words, but composure. I stood in front of my mirror, wearing a navy blazer and jeans, hair tied back. Nothing fancy. Calm, capable, unshakable. That was the point. They thrived on my reactions. This time they'd get none. Before heading to bed, I packed the binder and the USB with every file neatly labeled. I zipped them into a plain black bag and set it by the door. The weight of it wasn't heavy. It was balance. When the morning came, I poured coffee, glanced at the invitation one last time, and whispered to myself, "That was clever. But you forgot one thing." Then I smiled, locked my apartment, and left for the party. The party was exactly what I expected. Emerald and gold decorations, a rented banquet hall that smelled faintly of perfume and champagne, and the soft hum of people pretending to adore each other. Caroline had always known how to make an event feel like a performance. Tonight, she was the star. I walked in 10 minutes late on purpose. The chatter dimmed when people noticed me, like someone had lowered the volume knob. A few polite smiles flickered, unsure whether to greet me or avoid me. Victoria froze mid-sentence at the punch bowl, then looked away so quickly it was almost convincing. I found an empty chair near the back. No one approached. Perfect. I wanted distance, not to hide, but to watch. From here, I could see everything. The slideshow of Caroline's life looping on a projector. The happy 60th Elizabeth banner strung across the wall. The pile of shiny gift boxes near the stage. The lights dimmed, and the MC, a family friend who loved his own voice, tapped the mic. "Let's all raise a glass to Caroline Hayes," he said. "A woman of grace, generosity, and love." Laughter and applause rippled through the room like a rehearsed cue. I sipped my water, tasting the irony. The slideshow rolled again, wedding photos, vacations, baby pictures of Victoria and me. My mother narrated from the stage in her practiced warmth. This home was built with love and passed down with purpose. It's a legacy, a reminder that family always comes first. And then Victoria took the microphone. "Mom," she said, voice trembling just enough to sound heartfelt. "You've taught us what real family means: sacrifice, loyalty, faith. This house represents that. It's the heart of who we are." Applause erupted. Flash bulbs from cell phones lit up the room. I felt my pulse slow, not speed up, because the louder they clapped, the clearer I became. Caroline dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. "I'm so proud of my daughter," she said, smiling toward Victoria. She's shown us what legacy truly means, and I'm grateful this home will stay in the right hands. That phrase, the right hands, the same words from that Facebook post. I stood. The applause faded just enough for the microphone to pick up my footsteps. I didn't rush. I walked up the aisle like someone who belonged there. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, I said, my voice even amplified across the room. But since we're talking about legacy, maybe we should talk about what it costs. A ripple of whispers rolled through the tables. Caroline's smile twitched. Ellie, she said softly, that warning tone she used when she wanted me to shut up without saying it out loud. Maybe we can do this another time. I think now works, I said. I reached into my bag and held up the USB drive. Could someone plug this in for me? A cousin near the laptop hesitated, then complied. The screen behind Caroline flickered, the slideshow cutting to black. For a second, the room was silent, except for the projector's hum. Then an audio file began to play. Caroline's voice, clear and cold, she's not family anymore. She's just a sponsor. The words hit the air like glass shattering. Gasps, murmurs, a clatter of a dropped fork. My mother went pale. Victoria stiffened beside her, lips parting as if to deny it. I didn't look at either of them. I clicked to the next file. The projector lit up with a screenshot. The family circle group chat, the meme, the comments, big sponsor energy. Can you fund my loans next? Keep the donor happy. The laughter that had filled this hall for an hour was gone. Another click. The spreadsheet appeared, rows and rows of payments. Every line dated and labeled, mortgage, property tax, roof repair, daycare. Each total highlighted in red. At the bottom, the sum glowed on the screen, 72,384 euros. This, I said quietly, is the price of your legacy. Every mortgage payment, every emergency, every bill I covered while you called me family only when it was convenient. Caroline finally found her voice. It was a gift, Eleanor. Families help each other. I met her eyes. No, families thank each other. Gifts come with gratitude, not deceit. Richard rose from his chair, voice trembling with anger. You don't come here and humiliate your mother in front of everyone. I turned toward him. You mean the way you used my name for that bank loan without asking? Because I still have the paperwork. Should I show that, too? He froze, his mouth open, closed, then shut completely. Victoria stepped forward, face flushed. You're blowing this out of proportion. We were just stealing, I finished for her, redefining ownership. Her jaw tightened. You always think you're better than everyone. I don't think that, I interrupted. I just think I finally see everyone clearly. The room had gone utterly still. Even the kids in the corner were silent. I could hear the faint buzz of the fluorescent lights. Then the doors at the back of the hall opened. The sound of a cane tapping echoed as my grandfather, Arthur, stepped in. Conversations broke into stunned whispers. He hadn't attended a family event in years. He made his way slowly toward the stage, stopping beside me. The lines on his face looked carved from resolve. He took the microphone from my hand and turned first to my mother. You raised a thief, he said quietly. Then to my father, and a coward. A collective breath caught in the room. Finally, he faced me. Eleanor, I read your message. You were right to stand up for yourself. Last week, I changed the trust. Victoria's name is gone. The property, the accounts, they're yours now. The silence broke into gasps, then murmurs. My mother's face drained of color. Victoria's mouth fell open. No words, just panic. Grandpa Arthur handed the mic back to me. Legacy, he said, looking around the room, isn't about inheritance. It's about behavior repeated. Then he walked out, cane tapping in rhythm, the sound of closure following him. I stood there a moment longer. My hands were steady. I looked at Caroline, then Victoria, then the crowd of relatives staring at me like they just watched a play where they didn't understand the ending. I walked to the gift table, placed my thick stack of invoices beside the wrapped presents, and said softly, "You changed the locks. I changed my future." Then I left. No cake, no toasts, no apologies, just the sound of chairs scraping and 100 eyes following me to the door. Outside, the night air hit like freedom. My phone buzzed in my bag. Dozens of notifications, missed calls, messages lighting up the screen. I didn't look. I just kept walking, the USB still warm in my pocket. For the first time, I wasn't the daughter trying to earn love. I was the woman who stopped funding her own mistreatment. The banquet hall shimmered in gold and emerald, the colors my mother had always claimed looked regal. It reeked of roses and expensive perfume, the kind that made you feel underdressed no matter what you wore. I walked in 10 minutes late, not out of disrespect, out of strategy. Nothing unsettles control freaks more than unpredictability. Heads turned as I entered. Conversations faltered, laughter thinned. I saw it ripple across the room like a chill, recognition, discomfort, gossip in real time. Victoria froze near the dessert table, wearing the same self-satisfied smile she'd used my whole life, the one that said, "You're too late again." I found a seat near the back. I didn't greet anyone. Didn't fake a smile. I simply watched. The slideshow began, images of family vacations, Victoria's wedding, photos of the house I paid for. I waited to see if even one picture of me would appear. None did. When Caroline took the mic, her voice filled the room, sugary and sure. "This home," she said, smiling toward Victoria, "represents our family's strength and togetherness. It was built with love, and it will stay in the right hands." The right hands. The same words she'd used online, the same ones that had burned through me weeks ago. Applause filled the hall, clinking glasses and polite cheers. I felt my pulse slow, steady, deliberate. Rage had no use here. Precision did. Victoria walked to the stage and hugged Caroline, taking the mic with mock humility. "Mom has sacrificed so much for us," she began. "And I've just tried to carry her example, to keep the family's heart beating." I could feel the audience leaning in, smiling, nodding. It was a room full of people hypnotized by the performance of goodness. I stood, smoothing the sleeve of my blazer, and began walking toward the stage. The applause faltered. People turned, chairs creaked. My mother's expression froze, halfway between pride and panic. "I wasn't planning to speak tonight," I said evenly, taking the spare mic from the stand. "But since we're talking about family and sacrifice, maybe it's time we talk about what those words have cost." My mother's hand twitched toward me, like she might whisper some polite, murderous plea for silence. I didn't look at her. "I have a short presentation," I said, reaching into my bag. "Could someone help me plug this in?" A cousin near the projector hesitated, glancing at Caroline, then at me, and decided curiosity outweighed loyalty. He took the USB and slotted it in. The slideshow blinked off, and a new file name appeared on screen, "Sponsorship Program for Years." Excellent. The room chuckled nervously. I let them. The first audio clip began to play. Background chatter. Then my mother's voice, cold and unmistakable. She's not family anymore. She's just a sponsor. The laughter stopped. Someone gasped. Glass shattered. Victoria's face drained of color. Caroline stood frozen, her lips parted, but no sound emerging. I waited for the echo to die before I spoke. That was recorded 3 weeks ago, the day you told me I wasn't family. I clicked to the next slide. Screenshots of the group chat. The meme of a man handing over his wallet. The comments, big sponsor energy. Can you fund my loans next? Keep the donor happy. This, I said, is what love looks like in the Hayes family. No one moved. I heard a chair scrape against the floor. Click. The spreadsheet filled the screen, rows of payments. Line after line. Mortgage, property tax, roof repairs, daycare, groceries. 4 years' worth of invisible labor. At the bottom, a total in red, €72,384. This, I said quietly, is what that love cost. Richard rose from his chair, red-faced. You're embarrassing your mother. Turn that off right now. I looked straight at him. You mean like you embarrassed me when you took out a loan in my name? Because I still have the paperwork. Should I project that next? He froze, sinking slowly back down. The audience shifted, murmur spreading, eyes darting. Between me and my parents. Caroline finally found her voice, brittle and trembling. Eleanor, it was never about money. Families help each other. I met her gaze. No, Mom. Families thank each other. Families don't rewrite ownership and then lock you out of the house you've been paying for. Victoria's voice cut in, sharp and desperate. You're twisting everything. It wasn't like that. I turned to her. Really? Because the bank records, the chat logs, and this audio seem pretty clear. But go ahead. What part am I twisting? Her mouth opened, then closed. Nothing came out. The silence was thick enough to choke on. Every relative in that room had an opinion. None of them dared speak it aloud. Then came the sound, steady, rhythmic tap, tap, tap. The doors opened and my grandfather, Arthur, entered, leaning on his cane. Conversation died entirely. Even my mother looked startled. He walked down the aisle slowly, ignoring the stairs until he reached me. His presence filled the space without raising his voice. Eleanor, he said softly, taking the mic from my hand. You were right. He turned to my mother. Caroline, you raised a thief. His eyes flicked to my father. And you became a coward. Gasps rolled through the room. My mother's hand flew to her chest, eyes wide with humiliation. Arthur continued, voice even, deliberate. Last week, I reviewed the trust. I've removed Victoria's name. The property, the accounts, they now belong to Eleanor, the one who earned them. The room erupted in whispers, shock, outrage, awe. Victoria's jaw dropped. Richard stared at the floor. Caroline reached for Arthur's arm, but he stepped back. You wanted legacy, he said. Then earn it. Deceit doesn't build families, it rots them. He handed the mic back to me. Your turn, kid. I nodded once, then faced the crowd again. My heartbeat was steady. The storm was already over. I was just narrating the damage. I lifted the binder from my bag and placed it on the gift table, right between a bouquet and a box wrapped in gold paper. You changed the locks, I said quietly. I changed my future. No one clapped. No one dared. I walked off the stage, every step deliberate. The hall was silent except for the hum of the projector, still showing the final slide, paid in full. As I reached the door, my mother's voice broke the silence, small and pleading. "Eleanor, wait." I paused but didn't turn around. She said, "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," I said. "You taught me." Then I walked out. Outside, the cool night wrapped around me like mercy. I could still hear the muffled noise of the party behind me, voices rising, chairs scraping, someone crying. I kept walking until it all faded. My phone buzzed again and again. Caroline, Richard, Victoria, all lighting up the screen. I let it ring until it stopped. Then another vibration, a voicemail from Arthur. I pressed play. His voice was calm. "Proud of you, kid. You did what needed to be done." I smiled to myself, sliding the phone into my pocket. For the first time, silence didn't feel empty. It felt earned. I looked up at the sky, the street lights casting long shadows on the pavement. My hands didn't shake. My breathing was steady. And for once, the night didn't feel cold. It felt clean. By morning, my inbox was a battlefield, emails from a law office, subject line in all caps, settlement proposal urgent. I skimmed the message. They wanted to resolve the misunderstanding amicably. Translation, hush money. I typed back one line, full repayment of €72,384 within 72 hours or I go public. Then I closed my laptop and poured myself another coffee. They wired the full amount on the third day. No apology, no explanation, just numbers. The language they'd always spoken best. I replied, transaction received. No further contact necessary. And that was it. After that, the noise stopped. No calls, no texts, no fake concern, just quiet. The kind that doesn't ache, it breathes. I cleaned my apartment, bought daisies from the market, rearranged the bookshelves. When my phone finally stayed still, I realized peace doesn't sound like angels singing. It sounds like nothing demanding your attention. A week later, I drove to Arthur's house. He was on the porch with his tea, sunlight caught in the wrinkles around his eyes. "They're furious," he said, smiling a little. "Good," I answered. "Maybe fury will make them think." He nodded. "Forgiveness requires accountability," he said. "They haven't earned it." I stayed until sunset. Neither of us spoke much. We didn't need to. When I got home, I stood on my balcony, watching the city shift from gold to blue. My phone buzzed once more. An unknown number, a single image, the old house, overgrown and empty. On the back, in Caroline's handwriting, "We miss you. Please come home." I folded it carefully and slid it into my drawer. Home isn't where you're locked out. It's where you can finally breathe. They changed the locks. I changed my life. I used to think peace would come with forgiveness, but now I know it comes with distance. I don't wait for their calls. I don't check my inbox hoping for remorse. I stopped mistaking access for love. Some people think cutting ties is cruel. Truth is, it's the kindest thing I've ever done for myself. When I wake up now, there's no background tension humming under the day. Just sunlight, coffee, and quiet. That's freedom. Not dramatic, not loud, just mine. If you've ever been the one holding a family together while they tear you apart, remember this: silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the first step toward peace. They changed the locks. I changed my life.